Hello, YouTube! This is skullzproductions, and welcome to my very first Q&A session. I've started to try and do Q&A sessions because I saw my friend FlameAmigo619 do them, and he's really talented at them. He can really do well on them. And so, I've decided to try and do my own Q&A, starting with this first session. Now, the first question I'm going to ask is one of my defaults I put in the description box on the last video. Okay, so here's the first question. What's your favorite TV channel? Well, I'd have to say my favorite TV channel happens to be Fox Family Channel back in 1998. Back then it was like a king of all channels. It had like really awesome shows, and it even showed past shows. One of my favorites being Shining Time Station. Yeah, I know it's been a classic already, but it's been on television for a long time, that meaning Shining Time Station. But anyway, back to the Fox Family thing. Fox Family was like all special. It had like classic shows like Dennis the Menace and Casper the Friendly Ghost and all kinds of other stuff. That is, until ABC destroyed all of it. And now on to my next question. My next question from Thomas and Michael 1. He asks, what is your favorite Thomas episode, and when did you first enjoy Thomas, including Shining Time Station? Well, it's very funny you should ask that, because I have like a lot of favorite episodes of Thomas the Tank Engine, being a lot from seasons 1 to the soon-to-be 14. I'd have to say to go from my favorite episode from season 5 being Bah. It was really funny and it was really hilarious, and when the ram eats Sir Topham Hatt's hat at the end, it like really laughed me out, especially if it was in the episode. And Shining Time Station, well, Shining Time Station's been like a classic to me. Even though it was made in 1989, it was still the best show made for both the 90s and the 80s, especially when they brought Thomas the Tank Engine to America. Shining Time Station was like a classic. It had like all kinds of funny characters, all kinds of funny slapstick, and all kinds of really cool segments like the Jukebox Band and animated cartoons from the past, and even Thomas the Tank Engine. It was like a classic, and no classic like it. My good friend JRiddle41, and he's got 2 questions, and he asks, when did you first see Thomas and Friends? Well, when I first saw Thomas and Friends, I was actually a little bit of a kid back then. Back then, my very first Thomas story happens to be Trust Thomas. It was on a home video, so Trust Thomas wasn't the only story I ever saw. It was actually more than one story. I actually saw, like, all the way from Trust Thomas to The Trouble with Mud. They were actually really cool stories, and they were really cool with crashes and stuff like that. It was like a classic, like I said before, along with Shining Time Station, that is. And now on to his next question. It was, what was your first Thomas and Friends Bachmann model? Well, I wasn't really much of a Bachmann fan back then, but when I got my very first model, which was the Percy set, it really got me back into the Bachmann stuff again. It was really awesome. The Percy model is a little old, but I can keep it forever, because it's the last thing I have to remember from my grandma. Now on to the next question, from Boris Fangirl, a good friend of mine. She asks, I know you're a fan of Ranma 1/2. Which Ranma 1/2 character do you see in you? Well, it's hard to explain, but I haven't been much into the show, and it's really cool, but it's, well, I guess the Ranma character I see in myself happens to be, well, Ranma, for instance. He's like really fun, and he's like really cool, and he really acts like he knows it all sometimes. But if I'd have to say, but Ranma is a really cool character, and I'll always think I'll see him in me. And now here's a question from Thomas and Homer, and he asks, who is your favorite Thomas character or favorite YouTuber? Well, my very favorite Thomas character would be, well, Duck. He's like a really cool character, and he really knows how he can do it. The Great Western way or the wrong way. I actually felt sad when they kicked Duck off after season 7, but when I saw him back in season 12, I was actually happy again. I even felt bad for Duck when Diesel was being mean to him. I mean, what? Because Diesel is an only villain doesn't mean you have to kick a character off. Heh. Well, and a favorite YouTuber, well, I'd have to say, well, TrainLover476. He's like a really cool comedian, and if he had a job to make a series, it'd have to be, well, Tommy Thomas and Friends. Because he well made that series, and he made it look like it was funny. It's like a really cool series. All videos and all fun. And even when he is fun. And now on to our next question from Ackley Attack 4427. What makes your YouTube channel the best in history of YouTube channels? Well, my YouTube channel has been here for like 4 years. Wow, I can't believe it's been that long. And what makes it the best is because, well, I've never been suspended at all. I thought one day I was going to say, I think I'm going to get suspended today. And you know what? I'm never suspended. I guess I'm a really lucky guy to think that. Although I can say it for another few users. Even if they are suspended, they're still good to me in my heart, like my grandmother. And now is a question from Trainmaster321, and he asks me, who inspired you to join YouTube? Well, it's really not who inspired me, it's what inspired me. It starts back in 2006 when I was looking for Shining Time Station videos. And then I ran into YouTube, which had a lot of Shining Time Station stuff. It was really awesome. And that's what inspired me to join YouTube. All the fun stuff and the fun videos and all the really cool things they got here. And that's what I got to join YouTube, along with my own videos. Now here's a question from Stingray 2007, and he asks, what do you enjoy the most about being a YouTuber? Well, the very most thing I enjoy about being a YouTuber is starring in videos. I like to be a star in lots of cool videos. The very first thing I've ever made of an audition was being the voice of Mojo in Miss Oliver and Blossom's episode 12 read-up from Captain Punjab. And well, he really liked it, and I was the star of Mojo. I was even in a lot of other videos, like the voice of Orlando, and a lot of cool other stuff. And that's all I could think of. Here's my last question from FlameAmigo619, and he asks, how did you meet Miss Oliver and Blossom in TrainLover476? Well, it was really something I really met. They both were really cool, and when I got to look at their videos, they were really awesome. Miss Oliver and Blossom with his TNF series, and TrainLover476 with his Tommy series. They're both really cool, and like I said before, TrainLover476's Tommy series is awesome. And Miss Oliver and Blossom's TNF series, epic classic. The episodes were really awesome, and they really made good read-ups. And that's a bit all for my Q&A session. If you liked this and want to see another Q&A session, just put in your comment on the bottom of this video and then press the like button. Well, that's about it for my Q&A session. I'll see you next time.